Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Arinda Talks. I'm your host Arinda, and today we're talking about The Never Ending Story, and my guest is my friend Jonathan Ford. The Never Ending Story is a 1984 fantasy film co-written and directed by Wolfgang Petersen, and based on the 1979 novel The Never Ending Story by Michael Ende. The film was produced by Bernd Eggy and Dieter Giesler. The film follows a boy who happens to open a magical book that tells a young warrior who is given the task of stopping the Nothing, a dark force, from engulfing the wonderland world of Fantasia. The 10-year-old Bastian Bax is a shy and outcast bibliophile and lives with his widowed father. One day, on his way to school, Bastian is chased by bullies but escaped by hiding in a bookstore, annoying the bookseller, Mr. Coriander. Bastian's interest in the book leads him to ask about the one Coriander is reading, but the bookseller advised against reading it, saying that it is not a safe story like regular books. With his curiosity piqued, Bastian secretly takes the book, titled The Never Ending Story, leaving a note promising to return it, and hides in the school's attic to read it. The book describes the fantasy world of Fantasia slowly being devoured by a malevolent force called the Nothing. The childlike empress who rules Fantasia has fallen ill, and a young warrior Atreyu is asked to discover the cure, believing that once the empress is well, the Nothing will no longer be a threat. Atreyu is given a medallion called the Orion that can guide and protect him in the quest. As Atreyu set out, the Nothing summons a vicious and highly intelligent wolf-like creature named Morg to kill Atreyu. Atreyu's quest directs him to the giant turtle-like advisor Morla, the Ancient One, in the Swamps of Sadness. Through the Orion protects Atreyu, his beloved horse Artax is lost to the swamp, and he continues alone. Morla, who is allergic to young humans, doesn't have the answers that Atreyu seeks, but reluctantly direct him to the Southern Oracle, 10,000 miles distant. Morg, closed in as Atreyu succumbs to exhaustion trying to escape the swamp, but is narrowly saved by the luck dragon Falkor. Falkor takes him to the home of two gnomes who lives near the gates of the Southern Oracle. Atreyu crosses the first gate, but is perplexed when the second gate, a mirror that shows the viewer true self, reveals a boy which Bastian recognized as himself. Atreyu eventually meets the Southern Oracle, who tells him that the only way to save the Empress is to find a human child who lives beyond the boundaries of Fantasia to give her a new name. Atreyu and Falkor flee, as the Nothing consumes the Southern Oracle. In flight, Atreyu is knocked from Falkor's back into the sea of possibilities, losing the Orion in the process. He wakes up on the shore of some abandoned ruins, where he finds several murals displacing his adventure, including one of Morg. Morg then reveals himself and explains that Fantasia represents humanity imagination and is thus without boundaries, while the Nothing is manifestation of the loss of hope and dreams. Atreyu battles and kills Morg, and the Nothing begins to consume the ruins. Falco managed to retrieve the Orion and rescue Atreyu. The two find themselves in a void with only small fragments of Fantasia remaining, fearing that they have failed until they spot the Emperor's ivory tower among the fragments. Inside, Atreyu apologized for failing the Empress, but she assured him that he has succeeded in bringing to her a human child who has been following his quest, Bastian. She further explains that just as Bastian is following Atreyu's story, others are following Bastian's, making this part of the never-ending story. And then nothing begins to continue consume the tower. The Empress explained that Bastian must call out her new name to save Fantasia, disbelieving he has been incorporated with the story. He denies these events actually happened. He gives an after she pleads directed to him to call out her new name, running to the window of the attic to call out Moon Child. Bastian awakes with the Empress, who presses him with a grain of sand, the sole remnant of Fantasia. The Empress tells Bastian that he has the power to bring Fantasia back with his imagination. Bastian recreates Fantasia and flies on Falco's back to see the land and its inhabitants restored, including Atreyu and Artax. When Falco asks what his next wish will be, Bastian brings Falco to the real world to chase down the school bullies. The film narrates that Bastian had many more wishes and adventures, but that is another story. Well, guys, let's call Jonathan again. Hello, Jonathan.
Hello, Arina. Nice to speak with you again.
Yeah, same here, same here. Hope everything is okay.
Yes, fine. Thank you. Hope it is with you.
Yeah, it is good. So, today we're going to talk about the never-ending story. Did you read the books or did you saw the movies?
Well, I did both actually, but the movie was first, I believe. Yes, and I very much enjoyed that. And then I went on to read the book, I think, and enjoyed it as well. So yes, it was the movie first for me.
Is there any difference between the book and the movies? Because I never
Uh,
read the book, but I saw the
um,
movies.
yeah, actually, got to be honest, that it's probably a long time ago since I did read the book. Um, I can only remember that it's probably a little bit more um, involved. Involved the book, although it was very true to the film, and the yes. So I think there was you could after having seen the film, I think I could relate. And when I read the book, then I was kind of visualizing the various scenes in the film, which is always good that you're able to do that. Yes.
In the storyline is what I like about the never-ending story is it's really like a children's fantasy story. How is that for you?
Yes, yes. It is. I know what you mean with and with the central character being not very old as well. Yes, and I think that's probably probably right. It's all on the basic level, it is, it is a children's fantasy story, and very good one, yes.
And I think children can really get into it, and grown-ups as well, by the way. And
Yes.
you know, I do think it's what they did in the movies, and I must say, the second and the third movie never was quite as good as the first one. Cause
No, that's right. No.
I love the
I'm
first
often,
one the
yeah,
most.
yeah. I mean, often with these movies and whatever, the first one is usually the best one. Yes, yes.
Yeah. Um, the other thing what I really like about the story is that everyone can understand it, and in that way, it's been written quite well.
Yes, yes. That's very true. Yes, it's not overly complex, and yes, so that's yes, everybody can relate to it. I think, in on certain levels, yes. So it's very good in that respect. Yes.
So if we are going to take a look at the main character, Bastian Bucks, um, we see him, of course, like a child that is bullied and as some kind of what a nerd because he likes to read and loves stories and especially fantasy stories. And he takes us with us to the whole story, and later on we see that he is the main story character that can take us with the story, and he is the one who has to name the childlike empress.
Right. Yes.
Is there any way you can relate to him? I can in that point. So
Yes. Well, I suppose that yes, we've I suppose I'm yes, that's the way that you either you can see, I suppose, when you were that age, when you were the age that he was, and the bullies come, and every school, whatever, has them, I'm afraid, and maybe not so much nowadays, or I don't know. But yes, and you often want to retreat from that, perhaps into yes. I mean, I had a few people in school who I don't know whether they were bullied, but weren't quite nice, and you want to kind of retreat. And I mean, in I think as well in daily life, as adults, we might often want which to retreat and escape into another world, another fantasy, because um, we find that living in today's world is quite challenging, and yes, so we want to have some kind of escapism. Yes.
do you think that um, the writer has wrote this story for children who are bullied because they can relate to Bastian?
Yes, yes, I think so, and they can relate to quite at the end of the actual film, and the book, and Falco says something, what would you like to do now, or whatever, in that way. And his Bastian has asked for a bit of a bit of payback to the buddies.
Yeah, with
Not
Falcor.
yes, yes, not overly kind of aggressive, but it is to scare him off a bit, which is
And
very
they
nice,
jump
I think.
in the bin container.
Yes, 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 indeed, indeed.
Well, the fun part is there is a movie theme park in Germany where originally the story comes from. There is the real Falcor that they used in the movie, and when I was young, I have sat on. We went there, and sat on Falcor.
Oh, lovely, right? Yes.
Yeah, I really love that picture, and it really is. Yeah, Falcor was always the happy-go-lucky dragon.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
I always loved Falcor, and there is somewhere a shop. I believe it's a shop in the Netherlands or in the England. I can't remember where, but they make Falcor as like a plush animal, but it is so good that you can wear him on your shoulder.
Right. Oh, lovely. Yes, yes, yes.
That is really cute. But
Yes, yes,
I always
very
have loved
nice.
Falcor, and
Yeah.
so if you're looking to the story wise and storyline, what do you like about it?
Well, I suppose that this could be quite a long piece. Um, it's interesting. The main kind of thrust of the story, I suppose, is that the nothing is invading Fantasia, and I suppose that could be thought of as Fantasia is a land that what is essentially created by um, imagination, and if nothing is invading it, then our imagination. I think it was what I was trying to say was that if we lose our imagination, we lose a lot, and the fact that we've got to believe in something. Otherwise, nothing will take its place. And one of the most kind of sad, I suppose, and memorable scenes is when we see the horse
Artax.
tax, yeah,
Yeah, Artax, yeah.
in the swamps of sadness, and that again, I think, is a metaphor for if we let things get on top of us too much. Don't if we let things get too heavy on us, if we become too sad, then we will be dragged down into the swamps of sadness. So I think the whole thing is really accessible on many levels. On one level, it's just a fantasy story again that you could read for that, and then you could attach the meanings to it, like I've just said there. So yes, yes.
There is another. You already mentioned Artax, but the owner of Artax is of course Atreyu, and Atreyu is also having a big role in this story. What do you? What are your thoughts about Atreyu?
Yes, actually, thank you for and thank you for actually reminding me of his name. I was trying to find it. It was on the tip of my tongue, but and well, yes. I mean, again, it's the initial kind of search for um, someone who could be sent on a quest to um, uh, uh, destroy, defeat the nothing. And initially, the thoughts were that when Treyu appeared and volunteered for this duty, he was seen as a bit small and puny and not able to do an awful lot. So they imagined that he wouldn't be able to complete the task. And again, I think that is probably there to show us that even if we are small, even if we feel that we can't do things, and even if other people can't, if other people don't think that we can do things, we can prove them wrong. So yes, I mean, I think he was an important role model, and I think that people will look at him and think, well, I can do that. Yes.
Yeah, and um, of course we already have talked about the Nothing. The Nothing is bad, but there is another bad character, and that's Gmorg.
Oh, yes.
And when I was young, I was a little afraid of Gmorg, and of course my parents always teased me with, "Oh, if you don't listen to me, I will call for Gmorg."
Ah, okay.
And well,
Yes.
how did you, what do you think about the character of Morg?
Well, yes. I mean, it's he or it is there to distract Treyuan, and is a quite a quite a fearful opponent of him and of the trying to help the nothing. And we've got people, I suppose, in our um, we've got enemies all over the place. So well, we we may have personal. The term today, I think, is demons that we have to defeat, whether it be whatever. And I think there's always somebody uh, willing or eager to take us down, bring us down, and um, um, uh, and wanting to stop us achieving our goals. Um, but yeah, so but in the end, as we say, Atreyu defeats him or it, whatever we're calling. And yes, he gets past that. He gets past Gamork, and yes, he's again proves that being small is not an obstacle there.
Well, there is also one character which in one way, I like it, but on the other hand, he is quite funny as well. I'm talking about the ancient large turtle Morla,
Oh yes, yes.
and it was Atreyu who found Morla right after he lost Artax in the swamp.
Ye-
Um, the only thing what you know, and best way to describe Morla was that he was large and that he was slow and that he was allergic to human children. That's why he needed to sneeze every time.
Right. Yes. 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 Oh yes. Yes. Moreover, yeah. I mean, all of these. Yeah. Characters were important in the story. Mora, particularly, yes, she imparted some wisdom, and yes, it was nice. Nice when that encounter happened, um, and it's the allergic bit was quite amusing. So yes, yes, she's and pointed him in pointed the trail in the right direction. So I suppose that's uh, all of the the characters that we meet along the way, or most of them, certainly helped Treyu eager to see him get on. So yes, but I did like that character. Yes, yes.
So Morla directed him in the right direction, and he said that he needed to go to the Southern Oracle, and that was an adventure on his own. And luckily, Falcor caught him, and Falcor flew right on the borders to the first gate of the Southern Oracle. And when Atreyu was asleep, we meet two little gnomes. And the female was the one who healed people, and the other one was the scientist. The man was the scientist, and he was studying the Southern Oracle for a long time. Well, the gate in this way. And so Atreyu needed to enter the gate without being fired upon him, and that will follow. So we see them in first an example of a knight who wants to go through the gate, and he have been killed by the two. Yeah, well, it's like yellowish swings that protect the gate of the Southern Oracle. Well, Atreyu saved himself and managed to get to the gate, and then he came to a mirror that he has to go through. And if you see, with the gate, it was just like a desert, and when he stepped into the mirror, he was like in Iceland or Antarctica. It was that cold and snowy and whatever else more, and he had to go through all these weather changes, and then he came to the Southern Oracle itself. Well, it was very beautiful. It was like an icy sculpture of a Sphinx again. And
Yes.
this one talked to him, and but when they were talking, the swings, uh, there were pieces that were breaking off.
Yes,
And
right.
so uh, knows now what he needed to do to help the childlike empress. And uh, speaking of childlike empress, I do think it was very pity that they didn't do more with that character. She was always like a little fake side
Yes.
character that was there.
Yes. I know what you mean. She could have had a bigger role in it. Yes. Um, it was. It's yes. It's almost yeah. But yes, it was. It was at that point, of course, that Pastian had to name her, or yes. So I mean, that was kind of her one of her big roles, or what why she was there. But yes, I agree with you there. But yeah, but I suppose that the bit about when we see the child like Empress talking about Basti, that was quite a heartfelt moment, I think, and that um, the way that he was able to then kind of cross over to Fantasia. Yes, that was good. But yes, I know what you mean about her not having a very big role.
Yeah, what I missed about it is that we have some more information about her, because it is about her and of course Fantasia. And in one way I can understand, because the story has to be a little bit in a quicker pace, because they need to tell a story and there are so much to talk about and so much characters that has to be explained. Um,
Right.
there, there's one character I really enjoyed too. Well, actually, it's like three characters in one, but it's like it's that little group you see in the beginning with the Stone Eater,
Yes, yes, yes,
and then we have that a little alien with that flew a white bat. Well, that's very
yes.
funny. He was very funny. And there was one what I really always enjoyed as a child. That was that racing snake,
Yes, yes,
snail,
yes,
and that reminds me a little bit of the racing rabbits um, from the it is in the Hobbit with, or was Lord of the Rings? No, the Hobbit with
all right, yes,
Radagast the Brown. He had those racing rabbits, and that was. It reminds me of that, but it's really like I said before. Also, it's very low fantasy, and everyone can enjoy it. And I think it was a movie from 1984, and if children are seeing it today, they still enjoy it.
yes. I I think so. Yes, um, yes. It's certainly a good movie to watch, and yes, I think that whatever age you are, you will get something out of it, and it's a movie that you will always kind of remember and think about because it's even though it was it's quite old now, it's still quite popular, and people still say to me, "Oh, that's one of their favorite favorite childhood movies. So yes, go and see it if you haven't. So rent it out or stream it. Yes.
Is there something you don't like about the movie or the story?
I don't think so. Really, I mean, I think that uh, no, I think that like you probably when I first saw Gamora character, I was a bit scared, but I think that no, that's all kind of part of everything. So no, I think it was actually very good, and it still lasts the test of time. So I wouldn't say there was anything that I disliked really about it. No, no.
Have you ever seen the second and the third movie, or?
I did. Yes, I mean I did. I can't say that I remember a lot about them because, as you said before, you didn't think that they were as good as the first, and I think that because of the fact, well, there's two probably facts that I haven't actually seen them for a while because they weren't that good on the first viewing, and so therefore they're not really remembered with the same um, affection as the first one. Um, I might be interested in revisiting them if I can and see what is there that I remember. But as say often with these movies that become popular, they will try to put um, a second or a third one, and you often find that people remember the first, the original and best, and then they don't really remember much about anything else, which is the case at the moment with me, I'm afraid.
Um, of course, the never-ending story also have a very famous soundtrack. Do you remember it?
Oh yes, I remember particularly. Yes, I think that was where. Well, we we'd heard of Limal before, actually, from the group Kajagoogoo. But yes, the soundtrack was very uh, interesting, particularly the main theme, the never-ending story that Limal did, and it's particularly interesting the way I remember one DJ's talking to Limal about it, and he was saying that most records fade out, and yours kind of fades in, and that was interesting, and you can imagine uh, with that fading in the the appearance of Falco and him beginning to fly, and so yes, all that was very very good, and conjured up a lot of imagery there. Yes, it was good good to visualize that. Yes.
Is there anything you would like to see that they would have changed in the story or the movie?
Um, I don't think so really. It's all very good. It's all. I think the fact that it's it has lived on in so many people's memories and affections was that because it was very well crafted and very basic on some levels, but you could interpret it. So, no, I think it was all done very well, and I think the perfect kind of childhood movie, really. Yes, yes.
Because how old were you when it came out?
Well, I, you say it was yes, 80s. So yes, well, I would be. I don't know. Yes, it's 15 or so, perhaps.
Hmm.
And yes, so yes, I was just uh, old enough to appreciate it, and yes, no, yes, and even now, there are elements of it which I can relate to. So yes, it's all been very good.
Um. Well, I have nothing to ask anymore. Is there something you like to add with it? Is there something you still need to talk about?
um, I I don't think so. It has become one of the if we look back on it's one of my favorite movies, and if we look back, there's only a few movies that have kind of got the status of that it has transcended the years, and people still look back on it. The other one that's often mentioned in the same breath as the never-ending story is Labyrinth, of course, and that was another good movie, but that's for another time, perhaps. Um, yes, but no, I just think it's good for us to have these movies now that we can look back on and uh, cherish. I don't know whether it was our time of life, but it seemed that the 80s, around that area, it was quite quite a good time for that kind of movie. Uh, just before, and of course the early 70s, just when we had the event of Star Wars, of course, 1977. All of these come under that category of movies, I think, that you watch again and again, and that you like as an adult, and yeah, it's good to have them in your collection and your memories.
Yeah, it stays timeless, I think.
Yes, yes, yes,
And
that's right.
because it is so simple fantasy, everybody is loving it. If you liking Bastion or Atreyu, or if you are more of the dark person, I said, well, like Morg. But it is
Yes, well,
timeline.
yes,
It is timeless.
yes,
And I think
that's
it will
right.
always be timeless. There are, yeah, well, I, it's stupid to say this as an 80s or 90s kid, but it is, I always say, it was the best time of music, it was the best time of movies, and
Yes, that's right. Yes,
you know,
yes,
every time, and I noticed that when I'm doing the podcast as well, if I am thinking of subjects I like to talk about, I always go back to the 80s and 90s.
right. Yes, yes. I see. Yes,
Very stupid,
yeah.
maybe, but it's always giving me
Well, no, no. It's
inspiration to,
what you like. Yes, yes,
yeah,
indeed.
and it's, in a one way, I always say it was a great era to be a child, and in that it was
Yes,
pre internet, pre
Yes, that's right.
You know,
Yes.
so sometimes, and that's what I always say to my nieces as well. They are like 5 and 6 years old right now,
Oh, okay. Right.
and I always told them, for example, if you look at Winnie the Pooh, I said, you girls, I am very pity for you girls because all those 3D and SG characters as what they have now in
Yeah.
series and movies, that I was thinking, this is not so. Why can't you have just a 2D version of it and be happy with it? And of course,
Yes. Yes. Right.
children
Yes.
of now, they
Yes.
they don't know anything else like that. But I
No,
was,
I know
and
what
they
you mean.
say, and that was the funny thing. They were watching like Mickey Mouse, but it was Mickey Mouse of the modern days. And I was
Ah, I
say,
see.
I went on YouTube and I said, well, you really want to know how Mickey Mouse really looked like firstly of when Mr.
Yes.
Walt Disney
It,
drawed him. So I put one of the, I thought it was 1939, the first one. I
right.
showed them that, and they started to giggle and they say, "Oh, Auntie, I didn't know it was that
Right.
old." I said, "Yeah,
Yes.
it is
Yes.
that old." So it's
Yes.
yeah. I think it's what we both experience is that we still have to get used to what children are watching nowadays. And
Yes. That's right. Yes.
I really had that with My Little Pony. My Little Pony was
Oh,
always
yes.
one of my favorite to watch as a child,
Right.
and I was back in the Netherlands, and I was watching with them the new My Little Pony, and I was thinking, oh my god, this is terrible. I really pity for you girls.
Right. Yeah. I. Yes. Right there. Right there. Yes. Yes. I know what
So
you mean.
yeah,
Yes.
well, Jonathan, thank you very much again for this lovely conversation. Um,
Thank you for having me. Very nice it was too. Yes. I
I
shall.
really enjoyed it talking about the never ending story. I think a lot of 80s and 90s children can identify with us what we are saying. So,
Yes. 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 I'm sure they can. Yes.
and yeah, I think this will live on to other generations and to see. I will, by the way, now I'm thinking of it, I will ask my mom if the children already have seen it. Cause they are on an age to, yeah,
Yes.
like a low
Yes.
fantasy in that way.
That's right. Yes. Good. Good.
But okay, thank you very
Okay.
much again, Jonathan, and we will talk soon.
No doubt we will. Okay. Thanks. Thank you, Linda.
Dear listeners, thank you for listening and join me in 2 weeks for a new episode of Arinda Talks. You can listen and subscribe to Arinda Talks on the YouTube channel or to join the Facebook group. If you'd like to comment or talk with me about this episode, you can reach out on the Facebook group or the YouTube channel. The next episode is about the Milton Ninja Turtles. I also like to tell you about my two other podcasts called Girls Talking Track and Arinda's book club, Smooches, Tea and Books. Girls Talking Track. Together with my lovely co-host Amanda Hopper, we recap every 2 weeks an episode of Star Trek TNG. All the episodes will be recapped and chronically following. We will approach each episode with humor and a feminine look. Girls Talking Track is also to listen, follow and subscribe on Anchor, Google Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, or on all the other podcast providers. We also have a Facebook group and a YouTube channel. Every 10th episode will be a live streaming and a video episode, so you can talk with us live and see us when we talk about this episode. Orange Book Club Smooth Jazz, Tea and Books is a podcast that will discuss books of all genres. You can discuss this with me on YouTube channel or on the Facebook group. There will be a book reading events with live discussions. Of course, you can also give me recommendations what I can read. A perfect picture while reading a book is in front of the fireplace, loads of tea, and smooches in the background. So join me, read with me, and discuss with me the books we are reading. I will see you in 2 weeks.